Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of Mr. J's Geek Corner. I hope you enjoyed this special title card I made for this. It's a wonder you could do with apps on a phone nowadays. And like I said, welcome to the show. This is the place where we talk about everything that is geek, whether it be comics, TV, movies, or video games. And and and, and this month's going to be like a special series of shows because, as you know, the new Superman movie, Man of Steel, comes out on June the 14th. Something I'm really excited about, and I thought I'd devote this entire month to everything Superman this month, and I hope y'all enjoy it. I thought I'd start off this show by talking about, if you know anything about Superman in the comics, there's been like in comics and movies and TV, there and cartoons and video games. There have been like dozens of different versions of Superman, dozens of different interpretations, and I said just different versions and iterations of Superman. And I thought I would go over some some of my favorite, some of the person I think are the best, some of the best iterations, and some of what I think are some of the worst incarnations and iterations of Superman that have ever been done on screen or page or age or anything like that. Now I want to start off with what I think are some of the best ones. And just to let you know, there are pictures involved in this. And I just want to start off by saying that these pictures do not belong to me. These are solely the copyright of DC Comics and DC Entertainment. And so don't get mad at me. I just wanted to share some of what the pictures just to let you know what I'm talking about here. Let me start off with my number 10 choice for the best version of one of the best versions of Superman. This is the number 10 version. The version from the new game Injustice: Gods Among Us. This is that version of Superman. Hope you can see that real good there. Get it a little bit closer. I like this version of Superman. Of course, if you've played the game already, you know there are two versions of Superman in the game: the good version and the version that kind of went all a little crazy. The regime version of Superman, they're right there, that took over his world. And the reason I think I like him pretty good is because I hate what happened to him in the game. I mean, he lost everything that mattered to him: his city, his best friend, one of his best friends, Jimmy Olsen, and his wife, his beloved wife, and unborn son, all because of the Joker. The Joker blew up his city. He shot his best friend in the face. He gassed him and drugged him and caused him to accidentally kill Lois and his unborn son. And for that, he finally snapped and killed the Joker. And I've probably said in previous episodes that I think that was justified because Joker, it should have been done to him long ago. But in a way, that kind of says Superman down the path of being a villain. I mean, it's one thing to eradicate the world of crime and evil. That's one thing, but he kind of goes a little bit too far because I've seen some of the movie clips of the game and stuff like and everything, and I think he kind of goes a little bit towards I think he kind of goes into the dark side. I mean, killing Shazam and threatening to destroy Metropolis and Gotham, and then invade another world just because they come over into the Justice League of one world comes over into that world. He threatens to raid that world too. I mean, that's kind of going in the direction of the Joker at that point. And to have the other Superman come in and from the other world and just beat him, and I think is a very good storyline there. I think, and to tell you the truth, I think that should be made into a movie. I think that'd be a great animated or if not live action movie. And I think it would be great. And I like that version of Superman at the beginning of the game, but as it gets toward the inside the game, you see he's descending into madness. I don't like it for that reason, but I like it that he finally just ridded the world of the Joker. And I like it. I like that he did that, and that's why he comes in number 10 on my list. And of course the good version. I like the good version too, and that he finally comes in and stops the madness. That's why he's number 10 on my list. And to move on, number 9 on my list is one that's kind of little known, except for those of hardcore DC fans out there. This is the Superman of I can't exactly name the year, but this is Cal Kent of the 853rd century, and I don't know much about him other than he's like a long descendant of Superman. But the reason I think he's one of the best is because he's actually one of the most powerful versions of Superman. He's actually one of the most powerful Superman there's ever been in comics. I mean, other than the fact that he has all these powers that he was gifted with down the line of centuries upon century, like from might as well say hundreds of thousands of centuries worth of abilities, and then have ancestors that marry other dimensional beings, and then their descendants get like psychic abilities and telepathic and telekinetic abilities and more. And then the original Superman returns from a pilgrimage into space with new powers, and that he's made his fortress of solitude in the sun, or I can't remember, it's like a far off star or something, and he starts gifting his descendants with every time a new descendant comes along to be Superman, he gifts them with new powers and abilities that are beyond those of what Superman used to have. I mean, now in that universe, Superman is actually the original classic Superman is now actually a golden immortal being now in that world. I guess I should have added him to the list because he's actually pretty neat too. The first one that popped in my mind was Cal Kent because he just looks so cool and he's so powerful and everything. But Golden Kal-El actually trumps him even. I mean, he's even more powerful than he is. But still, Cal Kent makes it on my list at number 9. And number 8 on my list is one that I think the New 52 actually ruined, but I'll get to that later. This is the President Superman. You can see it there. The presidential Superman there of an unknown Earth that was mentioned in Final Crisis. And I think they should have gone more into delved into him. I think he should have got his own series for that matter to see how he got that far to be president of the United States. You know, I think he's an interesting character. I mean, supposedly he was based on the current president of the United States, but to me, I don't see any similarities there. I don't see any similarities between the real life president of the United States and that one. I mean, they look nothing alike, other than the fact that they're both the same race. I mean, they're the same race, and they're possibly the same race. I mean, Superman is of course an alien from another planet, but he happens to be of another ethnicity. But other than the fact that they look the same ethnicity and they're both president of the United States, I think the similarity stopped there because he looks like Superman, and I actually think it's pretty interesting. They should have gone more with that instead of doing what they did in New 52. But as I said, I'll get to that later. I said little's known about him other than the fact that he's president of the United States and he's African American. But I think they really should have delved into that character because I actually like him. I actually think he's pretty interesting, and that's why he's number 8 on my list. And I think I skipped one. Sorry. Number 8, I don't have a picture of him right now. Is the Superman from Speed and Bullets? I know I can't hear myself. Sorry about that. Number 8 is Superman from Speed and Bullets, and if you've read that story, it's a very interesting story. It's about what if the Waynes Thomas and Martha Wayne actually found Superman's capsule? What if they found Superman's rocket and adopted him as their own? And it's a very interesting story. He gets raised up to be Bruce Wayne. They get killed. He unleashes his powers on the mugger, kills the mugger, and then years later, and then becomes a hermit. And then later on, discovers his destiny is to go out into the night and avenge. And he becomes Batman. And he's an even more brutal version of Batman than I've ever seen before. And that makes it a very good story. And of course, he meets up with Lois, and Lois doesn't like what he's doing. She thinks he ought to be doing more. He ought to inspire with his powers and everything. And by the end of the story, he becomes Superman, the one he's destined to be. But I think that whole story is very interesting, and I just like it. I just think that it's very cool. And personally, I think that should have been made part of the multiverse before they did the whole New 52 mess. I think that should have been made part of the multiverse, and I think that's makes for a very interesting Earth, and that's why I think that's why I put him at number 8 on the list. Even though he probably should have been higher up, but there's so many others on the list. And you've already heard my number 7 is President Superman. Number 6 on the list is probably going to cause a little bit of a stir, but I like it anyway. Is the Smallville Superman. It is Smallville version. And I know he has a different suit in this picture. That's in the season 11 comic book series. And I love the comic book series, to be perfectly honest. I think it's great. I think it's great they didn't let Smallville die after season 10, in which he debuted looking like this. So you don't really see the suit. You still see him be Superman, you know. And I think everybody raised a stink about it. Not you don't get to see him as Superman. Yes, you do. I mean, sure, they use a little bit of a CG. They use a little bit of a CG Superman in it and everything. But I loved it. I loved how it ended. It was great. And I loved the comic book series. As a matter of fact, it's one of the only a couple of Superman series I actually read in DC still since this New 52 mess started. And I think that I think it's probably one of the, if not the best running right now. It's probably one of the best Superman series right now. I mean, there's probably somebody who's going to disagree with me, but I think it's probably one of the best series is running right now. And I said that's why he comes in at number 6 on the list. He probably should rank higher, but like I said, there's so many others on the list that rank even higher than he does. And I think they're even better than that. And I said, but for the time being, he comes in number 6 on the list. And number 5 on my list is one that everybody thinks should probably be number 1, but not me. And that's the legendary Christopher Reeve. And like I said, he was a great Superman. I mean, he really was. And he set the precedent for every other live-action Superman that came after him. Dean Cain, Tom Welling, everybody that came after Chris Reeve, even the ones who played Superboy in the live-action shows, he set the precedent. And like I said, even in Man of Steel with Henry Cavill, he set the precedent. But even though in Man of Steel they're kind of erasing that, he set the precedent of how to play Superman, basically. And I think Henry Cavill's probably going to set a new standard. But I think, and to begin with, Chris Reeve set the standard. He set the standard of how not just Superman, but how all superhero movies should probably be done. Do it right, stick to the basics, and don't mess with it too much. You know, I mean, Man of Steel looks like it's going to be a little bit of a new iteration, but to me, it looks like it's going to be pretty good. But like I said, I think in the beginning, Superman said that Chris Reeve set the precedent, and I think that's if it weren't for Chris Reeve, there wouldn't be Batman movies. There wouldn't be other Superman movies. There wouldn't even be a reboot. If it weren't for Chris Reeve. And I think that, and to me, that's why he comes in at number 5 on my list, and that's what makes him so good. And number 4 on my list is Earth 1 Superman. And to me, Earth 1 is a great story. It's a great book. And it should, and to me, that's more. He's more Superman than the New 52 is. I mean, I don't like New. I've said it before. And I say yeah, I don't like New 52, and I won't. And like I said, he to me is what the New 52 should have been based off of. Is Earth One. And I don't like what I said. Like I said, he's probably the only other Superman book I read other than Smallville. Now in DC, I think it's a great book. It's very inventive. How they relaunched him like that. Everybody's trying to say they crossed it with Twilight, and to me that's an insult. That is very much an insult, and it's an insult to a lot of Superman fans. I wish they would not compare it to that mess. That ain't nothing but Twilight. I'm gonna say it right now, and I sort of a lot of folks agree with Twilight's garbage. And to compare that with to say that and Superman in the same sense is very insulting to me and a lot of other Superman fans out there. Just because he's a little darker doesn't make him like that. Twilight isn't dark. Twilight's lame, but this is. Just because he's a little bit dark and edgy doesn't mean he's necessarily that. And to me, that's insulting to say that about him. I like the new Superman. I like the Earth One Superman, and Volume 1 and 2 were very good and very inventive. What they've done with it, and I think, and to me, that's why he comes in number 4 on the list. He probably should rank higher, but there are so many others that are even better than he is, but he is number 4 on the list. And number 3 on the list is actually a tie between two. Even though he is essentially the same guy, it is still a tie between two versions that I like really good. And first up is Earth 12 Superman, or as he's known as in the comics, Superman Beyond. And if everybody remembers the show Batman Beyond, he's comes from the area. So he's older. He's got it's based solely in the future. I mean, and everybody remembers reading the comics. He's lost his Lois because of Starro. It makes it sound like he was controlled by Starro for about 3 or 4 years, and for several years actually. And so he's lost his Lois, and at one time it didn't sound like he had anything left to do except just they want nothing for him on Earth. He put Luthor in the Phantom Zone and left Earth. Now in the comics he's actually back. He's actually started up being Superman again, and he's going back to the never-ending battle again. Never-ending battle for truth and justice. And I like that version of Superman because if there's one thing, if anybody knows me good, it's that I like when Superman looks his age. Superman ages slow because of his Earth-bound abilities, because of the abilities given to him by the sun and everything. It slows his aging down. I like it when Superman looks 75 years old and still has the strength of when he was 30. I love it. And of course there's other versions of Superman that are like that too, and that's why I like him so good. And that's why I like him so good, because he's another one where he's about like Earth 2 or Kingdom Come and everything. And that's why I like him so good, and that's why he comes in number 3 on the list. And the only one who could possibly tie with him is, of course, the golden oldie, classic one and only Superman. This is Superman. Plain and simple. This is Superman. Not no mess like armor wearing or anything like that. That's Superman. He acts like he's supposed to act. He's an inspiration. He's an inspiration to everybody. He's friendly to everybody. He acts like Superman. He don't act like he's to himself and like an emo or anything. He ain't an emo Superman like they always try to call Earth 1. He ain't that either. At least he gets along with people. But he is how Superman is supposed to be. He's the precedent. He's the standard for all superheroes. If it weren't for him, we wouldn't have Batman. They wouldn't have made Batman. They wouldn't have made Wonder Woman. They wouldn't be a DC universe. It wouldn't be a Marvel universe if it weren't for Superman. But I said he is Superman, plain and simple. He is the icon, and that's why he comes in on the 3 on the list. And why does he come in number 3? Because there are at least 2 others on the list that are even more my favorites, and I think are some of the best ones. Number 2 is the Kingdom Come Superman, or as he was known as for a while, Earth 22 Superman before the New 52. I mean, with New 52, he's been erased from continuity too, and that irritates me, because he's just like with Earth 12 Superman or Superman Beyond. I like when Superman looks his age and he's graying and he's still so powerful. I mean, to me, I've heard folks say he's even more powerful than the regular Superman. Then I said he's even more powerful than the regular continuity Superman. I mean, this is a man who, in the story Thy Kingdom Come, actually punched a bolt of lightning that was shot at somebody. They shot a bolt of energy from the mad being Gog. Shot a bolt of lightning at somebody, trying to turn them into pure energy, and he punched it out of the way. And they said, when they asked him, "You just punched lightning?" He said, "Yeah, like it was just nothing." I mean, he's super powerful. He's traveled through dimensions, and he's traveled through dimensions. He's done so many things, and to me, that's why he's one of the best versions of Superman. Sure, he lost his Lois, but he moved on. And by the end of the story, Kingdom Come story, he moves on and gets married gets married to Wonder Woman and has a child, who turns out to be a Phantom Stranger in another story. But that's something for another day. But anyway, to me, it makes him the best. He looks his age, and yet he's still as strong as when he's 30. And to me, that's what makes him one of the best, and number 2 on that list. And number 1 on the list is one of my all-time favorite versions of Superman, the Earth 2 Superman. This is the classic Superman in every sense of the word. You see in this picture, this is from Infinite Crisis. He looks 68, but he's 75 years old. He looks like he's his age, but just two panels before, they show him smashing through villains and beating up villains to save his cousin. To me, that's what makes him the best version. He's the classic Superman. He is the standard. He's the standard for even the younger version that I showed a few minutes ago. He is the standard. He is the classic Superman. First appeared in 1938. He is Superman. He's Superman. I hate that they killed him off, and I hate they killed him off. I'm glad they brought him back in Infinite Crisis, Blackest Night. I hate to kill him off in Infinite Crisis. I'm glad they brought him back in Blackest Night, but I hate that they didn't bring him back as he should have been. I hated that. I mean, they've got their own version of Earth 2 in the New 52, but I'll talk about that some later on. But this is Earth 2 for me. This is the classic Earth 2. This is the classic Superman. He's the one. He's my favorite, and he always will be. And that's why he is number 1 on my list. He is the standard of which to me, he is the original Superman that appeared years ago. He is the classic, and that's why he's my favorite. And that's pretty much my list of my favorite versions of Superman. But there are actually not every Superman is exactly a cool version. I mean, there have been some trips and falls and fails, epic fails in some cases, of when they present something they call Superman, and he ain't exactly what you measure him up to be. And that's why I made the list of what I think are the worst versions of Superman that I've ever seen done. And I'm going to start off with number 6, Electric Superman Blue. I mean, the look is cool and everything. It's absolutely awesome. But this is not Superman. It's not Superman by any means. I mean, it's Kal-El, but with a power change, but still, that's not who Superman is. That's not what Superman is. I mean, if you want to make another character, call him Superman and give him these powers and have him exist in the same world, that's fine. But that don't do that to him. I mean, this is his biggest. That's probably the biggest stunt they ever did until they did the New 52. I mean, they made it sound like that was going to be permanent, almost. They almost made it sound like that was going to be permanent. Just like they said the New 52 is going to be permanent. And in that case, they were wrong because they changed that back within a year. And so with things, I think it's going to happen with the New 52 also. But I'll get to that. I'll get to that later. But that ain't Superman. And they actually did a thing where they split him in two, and there were two of them roaming around. The exact same guy roaming around, just one was more cool, calm, collected. The other one was a hothead, about like a brash youngster. And to symbolize that, they made him red. They did that whole Superman red, Superman blue thing, which wasn't that bad, but still, that's not who he is. I'm sorry, that's just not Superman at all. That's it. I'm not going to show a picture of red because it looks the exact same. And you use your imagination. It looks the exact same what I just showed you, just red. But like I said, I think that's why he's number 6 on my list, because I said that's not Superman at all. And number 5 on my list is one that was only seen maybe a few times in the story Final Crisis Superman Beyond, where they all gather Superman from different corners in the multiverse and everything. The Quantum Superman. I mean, I don't have a picture of him that shows you how much I didn't like him that much. But to me, I don't know if you would say he's one of the worst ones. I mean, there was a worse one in there, the one of the Limbo universe. But that's probably even worse because he was basically useless. He had no powers at all. He just looked like a court jester. But to me, Quantum Superman was a little bit too much like that character of Dr. Manhattan from The Watchmen, only with more clothes on, obviously. But like I said, to me, he was just more like Brainiac 5. I mean, he didn't ever do anything except just calculate and stuff, and he just basically didn't do anything. And to me, he ain't particularly one of my favorites. So that's why he made it on the list. Number 4 on the list, I think, the forerunner of the New 52 Superman, Flashpoint Superman. And let me show you. And again, this is the property of DC. These images are the property of DC Comics. Please do not get mad at me. They do not belong to me. They belong to DC Comics. Let's see if I can find him right quick. This guy right here. That poor, sad, emo-looking thing right there is supposed to be Superman. Interesting as it is to have him be like that, be him in a government facility after he was found as a baby and all that stuff. To me, I'm sorry. I mean, he kicked butt and took names in the last few issues of his own spin-off series, and even in the last issue of Flashpoint, he really just acted like Superman Hawkeye. But to me, that's not what he ought to look like. I mean, it would have been interesting had they thrown the suit on him, but not the end of the book. But to me, that's the forerunner of how Superman would end up in the New 52. Just a emo, skinny guy that is complete opposite of what Superman, the true Superman, is. And that's why he came in number 4 on the list. Number 3 on the list. That's it. He ain't. Like I said, Flashpoint is not the true depiction of Superman. True to form depiction of Superman. And to me, and that's why he came in number 4 on the list. Number 3 on the list, and I hate to do this, Brandon Routh in Superman Returns. I mean, the suit was okay, but not perfect. It's not perfect. And I'm gonna say his performance wasn't exactly perfect either. I mean, when I said it's just, I mean, you know he looked like a rookie when he portrayed him. And the only reason they got him is because he looked and sounded like Chris Reeve. And to me, that was pretty cool. They actually found somebody that was almost be like a younger Chris Reeve, but to me, he actually needed to be a little bit more seasoned in an actor before he took on a role that big. I mean, to get that on somebody that really didn't have no acting experience, except maybe in a little bit in a soap opera, they probably should have gone with the one who he beat out, actually, Henry Cavill, which is irony. But like I said, to me, it wasn't exactly perfect. And like I said, that movie didn't have much action, but I'll talk about some another time. But like I said, to me, his Superman lacked something. And that's why he came in at number 3. Sorely lacked something. And to me, a portrayal where he gets weakened by a Kryptonite island and gets the mess beat out of him by three thugs. I'm sorry, that's not Superman that I know. And that's why he comes in at 3. This is number 3 on my list. Number 2 on my list is one I kind of mentioned earlier, but I kind of mentioned earlier. See if I can get this up here. The New 52 version of the President Superman that I showed earlier. This is why, and I don't hardly even need to say anything else. He is messed up. Look at the cape. Look at the outfit. It's terrible. And they and for those who probably said he don't look a thing like the president, he probably took those criticisms to heart and tried to make him look like the president. I'm sorry. You don't need to. I'm gonna say this. That's like if you did, like back in the day, if they decided to make a superhero out of Ronald Reagan or George Bush or George W. Bush or Bill Clinton. It just don't fit. And I don't understand why you gotta make one look like the current president. I mean, I've even heard, and as a sidebar, I even heard them say something about they're trying to make Wonder Woman of that universe look like Beyonce Knowles. Do you really need that? Do you really need to take a Superman that already exists, that you say is inspired by the President of the United States, and for a new revamp and very well messed up universe, make him look exactly like the President of the United States, and mess up his outfit on top of that, and the Superman insignia? I mean, did you see the insignia? I don't know if I even gave you a real good look at that. Look at this. If you can see that insignia, look at that. That's not Superman. And the only reason to get away with it is because it's an alternate Earth. But still, that's not the real Superman. I mean, that's messing up a perfectly good character, just like New 52 did with Superman. I mean, it's good that they gave him an Earth designated Earth 23. It's good they finally gave him an Earth designated Earth number that his Earth belongs in, but it's not the one I liked in Final Crisis. This one stinks. It looks horrible, and I think that's why he's number 2 on the list. And I know how could you get any worse than that? Well, number 1 on the list, and I think you saw this one coming. The New 52 Superman. I barely even need to say anything about this because I've expressed my disgust about it a lot on this show. I mean, like I said, you start out like this, I'm sorry. I mean, in the beginning, I was kind of tricked. I mean, I'm going to say it right now. I started out giving New 52 a chance. Mainly because this was the first image I saw of him. Doesn't that look like the classic Superman to you? Sure does to me. And that was the trick to lure you in on New 50, to lock in the New 52. And when you finally got it, you got Superboy. Superboy in jeans and a t-shirt, running from the cops. And then in Superman, in one title you got that. In Action Comics you got that. In Superman you got this. And in Justice League you got this. A skinny little emo in a suit of armor. I'm sorry, but that's what I think about it. He's not Superman. He never will be, to me. He's a fraud. The New 52 Superman is a fraud, and he will never be Superman to me. No matter how many people try to change my mind, you ain't gonna change it. He's not Superman. He doesn't act like him. He doesn't look like he may a vague resemblance to him, but so does every other Superman I showed you. And they're still far more like Superman than what I've seen. And to me, he's not Superman. And to me, those are the worst iterations of Superman that I've ever seen. But I do have a few honorable mentions, though. There's a few ones that were good, but didn't make my best list. And I'm going to start it off with, and again, this belongs to DC Comics, not me. The images you see here belong to DC Comics, not me. That is Kirk Allen. He was the first ever live-action Superman to ever appear on screen. He was good. I will say it. He was good, but he's not Chris Reeve good or George Reeves good. Well, okay, he's better. To me, he was better than George Reeves. I mean, the effects of the movie weren't good, but he was a good Superman. He was a good Superman for the 40s. He really was. But he just didn't make it on my list. And I hate that he didn't, but he just didn't make it on my list. And the other one, speaking of live action actors of Superman, Dean Cain. Again, like I said, property of DC Comics, not me. Don't be mad at me, please. This is Dean Cain. And a lot of folks will say he stunk as Superman. I don't. Because in the beginning, to me, it was like John Byrne light. I mean, they took the John Byrne concept of Superman and maybe gave it a little bit of a romantic comedy feel on Lois and Clark. And to me, he did a good job. He did a good job. Considering season 4 didn't give him much to work with, he was still good. He's still a good Superman. And that's why he's not good enough to. He didn't make it on my list. He probably should have, but to me, he did a good job anyway. And but I hate to say he didn't make it on my best list. And another one that really probably should have made it on my list. I hate that I didn't think of him before. The Justice Lord Superman from Justice League episode A Better World. Now, he was more of a villain. I mean, that's another thing about like Injustice. To me, it reminds me a lot of the Injustice game. I mean, in that one, he was, and in that episode, something happened. Luthor was president of the United States. He wound up going there, confronting Luthor. Luthor finally makes him snap, and he fries Luthor with his heat vision. And they take, and then over the course of the next several months later, they take over the world and become the Justice Lords instead of Justice League. And again, that was another instance of Superman. They wipe out crime on the entire world, but then they see the Justice League's Earth. And they go there and they try to take it over too. They try to wipe out crime on that world, but what they do is they replace the Justice League with themselves. And to me, that's when you cross the line between villain and hero. That's when you cross the line between hero and villainy. I mean, the fact that you're trying to eliminate your own alternate version of yourself just so you can wipe out crime, on another world, just because you're kind of bored with your own. I mean, that's when you know your power's going to your head. And to me, he didn't make it on the list because he's really more of an evil Superman. But he really more the Superman turned to the dark side once again. But I mean, to me, Injustice was even better than he was. Was an even better version than Justice Lord Superman. And that's kind of why he didn't make it on the list. Another reason because I didn't even think of him at the time when I was making this list. And another version of Superman that didn't exactly make it on the list, but I think it's a pretty good version. Ultraman. And he has like several different versions of him. I mean, you either think he has several versions of him. I mean, you had the very classic version that came from back in the old multiverse days when he just had a U on a blue suit. He just had a blue suit and he just had a red U on it. And it didn't look nothing like a Superman insignia, but he was still an evil version of Superman. Once again, that's why he didn't make it on the list. He was an evil version of Superman. And he was nothing but pure evil. And like I said, I mean, you either got the Earth 3 version or you've got the antimatter universe version. I mean, you have both of them are, of course, opposites. One's just a positive universe version, positive matter universe version. The other one's an antimatter universe version, but they're essentially the same character. They look about the same. And to me, and they didn't make it on the list because of that one reason. They're evil versions of Superman. In particular, they're not exactly one of my favorites, but still. And also there's the version that from the movie Justice League, Crisis on Two Earths, in which he given kind of a radical new look. I mean, he looks more like a king than Superman. You know, he looks more like a royal. Well, it looks more like a leader than Superman. You know, and still that's why he didn't make it on the list. And one that probably should have made it on the list, but kind of didn't because he was kind of already on the list is. And to me, this is the only good thing to come out of the New 52, actually. And that is New 52's version of the Earth 2 Superman. Look at him very closely. Doesn't he look like Man of Steel? That's the reason I like him. And the one thing that really stinks about how they handled him, he's dead. They started off their Earth 2 series by that. That's another way DC, or that is DC's New 52 stinks. You start off with a good version of the big three: Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. What do you do with them by the end of the issue? Kill them. You kill them off. They destroy Superman. They run Wonder Woman through, and they somehow kill Batman. No, I don't really see that how that happened in the comics, but. Why in the world would you make an awesome version of Superman that looks like what you're fixing to see in a movie theater and then kill him? And that's what stinks. And the reason he didn't make it on the list, though I like him, is that I already had the Earth 2 Superman on my list. The classic version. I like the classic version more than New 52. Though I like him. And though I like him, he's still not as good as the original Earth 2. And that's why he didn't really make it on the list, because why have two of them? I mean, why have two versions of the same character on the list? And that's why I didn't include him. And for now, and the last one I have on my honorable mentions list, actually at the top of the honorable mentions, is one that for now is on honorable mentions, but hopefully soon to join the best list. The Man of Steel version of Superman, the Henry Cavill Superman. So far, the trailer has been awesome. The trailers I've seen are awesome. I love the suit because I look at the suit and I see classic Superman. I see neo-classic. If that's even a term. I see neo-classic Superman. I mean, you look at him and the first thing I see is Superman. And they try to say that that's based on the New 52. No, it's not to me. Because New 52 is a suit of armor. Man of Steel is a new interpretation of the classic character. I mean, the boots, the suit, everything looks Superman. It looks more alien than before, but it looks like Superman. It screams Superman. Superman is back. And to me, I look forward to seeing him in a week or so. Be super. I look forward to seeing this movie. I'm looking so forward to seeing this movie. And I hope it really lives up to the hype. I really do. Because I really like what I've seen so far. I guess that's it for this edition of Mr. J's Geek Corner. I hope y'all have enjoyed this. And if y'all and do y'all agree with this? I mean, do y'all agree with my best and worst lists? Do you think there was somebody missing? You think there's somebody that shouldn't have been on the list, either one of those lists, or someone who should have? Let me know. Drop me a comment in the comment box, and I say, what is your favorite version? And like I said, tell me in the comment box. I'd love to hear from y'all. And as usual, if you have any ideas, if you have any ideas of what you'd like to hear me talk about on here, I said drop me a comment. I'd love to hear your ideas. I would love to get some ideas. I'm always looking for new things to talk about, and I'd love to hear your ideas. Just drop me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. And I guess that's all for this week's edition of Mr. J's Geek Corner. And next week we'll be talking about what I think are some of the best and worst Superman movies. And I don't know. I guess it's sure to stir a little bit of controversy. It's sure to probably get some agreements with me. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see till then. And I guess until then, I'll see y'all later.